Welcome back for another trade review. It's been a little while since I've done a review. Honestly, just I've been trying to focus on the mental side of trading. I kind of switched up my strategy a little bit. It's still the break and retest, but I found one that allows me to keep from getting faked out as much as I was. Previously, I was using a 5 minute break and then a retest, and I just found myself getting faked out just trying to trade too close to the open. And that would have worked if I had the right mindset towards it, understanding that I'm going to get stopped out quite often. But I didn't have that mindset. I just kept wondering why am I losing so much? I just keep losing and losing and losing and taking all these small paper cuts. And in reality, looking back, hindsight, that was the way to do it. That's just what was going to happen. I just had to keep attempting it, and those big winning trades is what was going to get rid of all of that red that I was taking. But I've switched to waiting for a 5 minute close. So if you take a look at IWM here, this was from today, which is August 20th, 2026. We got a 15-minute close under pre-market low here. And then what I'm looking for once that candle closes, so I wait for a candle close. I don't enter during this 15-minute time. I want to confirm that we are actually breaking out of the range. Once I get that candle close, then if I go over to the 2 minute, so this is the last 2 minute candle in the 15-minute one that closed. So we closed. And then what I'm looking for is a retest of either the level or the 13 EMA, which is this this white line here. Unfortunately, this is beautiful. This is like textbook retest and we flush. Unfortunately, I was a little worried that we were too extended from the cloud here. This cloud is the bottom is the 9 EMA and then the top is the 21 EMA. I really just use that cloud for holding my runners. But I typically like to enter when the level and the EMA are pretty much met up with each other. They're right at the same level. This is a little extended. I did put in an order. So this candle formed. I saw okay, we're rejecting this on this 2 minute time frame. The 15 minute, it's creating this candle. It's looking good. During this candle here, I saw it pop up. And really what I should have done is I should have just entered. I should have entered. It would have been a beautiful entry right at the level. I always want to enter at levels. That way, I know exactly where my stop loss is. If I don't enter at a level, I let my brain kind of wander on where my stop loss is, and it's not always the prettiest trade. Then I start to spiral, and again, I'm really trying to focus on the mental side of trading lately. But I should have entered here. I should have accepted the risk and thought, you know what, even if this is extended, if this closes on the other side of this level, then I'll just stop out. I'm not oversizing. I'm in perfect sizing and everything, all consistent. So if it didn't work, then whatever. I'll just cut it and then that's fine. I can always re-enter if it comes back down if it needed to wait for that cloud. But I hesitated. I didn't like it. Hindsight, this is beautiful. But I did put an order in, but I was half a second too late. This candle happened. I was sitting there, not in the trade. Then this candle happened and we just kept flushing. I thought maybe it was going to come back up, but honestly, once this already happened, I didn't love it as much anymore. So I really wasn't watching to get in. I sat on my hands and I was actually kind of laughing that I missed it it was just so close to being able to enter. But I tried to laugh it off. I did walk away from the screens because again, I'm trying to focus on the mental side of things. I feel like I have a really nice strategy going on right now, 15-minute break and then a 2 minute retest. But the mental side of trading has really been my downfall. And the last 3 weeks have been fantastic. Ever since starting to really focus on the mental side of things and avoiding tilt every single day. That's the main goal, avoid tilt. So I missed that trade. This trade ended up going about 60%. What I did, however, attempt later on is I have seen quite often the 2 minute really respect the VWAP. So what I did was I thought, okay, I'm going to sit through this. I'm not going to do anything too fancy. It's fine. I'm going to wait. I missed this trade. This is exactly what I'm looking for. This is my A+ setup. It's what I sit around waiting for to happen in the market. Anything else is just kind of like a side strategy that I don't enter full size in, I guess, to just kind of tickle my fancy, just to scratch the itch, I guess, if you want to call it that, of just putting on a trade. So I attempted to play this rejection of VWAP, which it started to play out. I really like these candles here. And then you can obviously see what happened. I ended up cutting this for a loss. I didn't cut it here because this technically was still under. If I zoom in, this was still under. I couldn't believe that we closed under. And then this one here, this is one I was shocked. Went all the way up. I did not cut it. I had a pretty nice entry on this. I entered almost right on VWAP. So I was actually okay with waiting to see, okay, what are we going to do at this pre-market low level? And we rejected it again. So I was very confident. And then we got this push. We wicked off, kind of like this cloud here, this 13 EMA, but I'm really not reading into this too much at this point because we're just flipping back and forth. And then this candle hit. And this stopped me out. It was a smaller loss. It wasn't too crazy or anything. I was definitely still disappointed at that time, but I did respect the stop loss and I cut my trade, which I'm very pleased about because in a previous lifetime of mine, I would have just let this run and I would have been miserable when this trade was all the way up here. You can see that it ended up waking off, and this is a day where I would sit in this trade, I'd be miserable up here, and then I would do a complete 180 and say, oh my God, it's working out. Look at this. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. It's working. So I'm just going to hold every trade. And that's completely against all of my rules. I'm being very strict with my rules. I honestly don't really feel any urge to break my rules anymore. I'm more focused on not going on tilt, following the plan, and just letting it work when it actually works. A lot more deep breathing and just relaxing during the stock market. So I cut it. This was maybe a 13% loss. I try to keep them under 20%. So that goal of mine, checked it off. It was good. I kept it from being a big loss. And then I just kind of waited. I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can close above this pre-market low. And then we can look for maybe a retest of pre-market low and look for calls. I don't typically do that, but I thought, this is clearly a good level to be watching. We broke under here and we flushed underneath, but now it might be time. Maybe this zone right here is a little bit of a bear trap and we're going to push higher. The overall market, SPY and QQQ, were pretty choppy today as well, so a little sketchy. But then I sat on my hands, waited around. Then I saw this candle here. This 15-minute candle right here. I saw this one close, and that's when I started to get interested once again. So when we were getting closer to closing this candle, we saw it pop up and get bought back down. Let's see, when this 2-minute broke the level, and then this 2-minute popped up, but then it got sold off. This is when I was really starting to watch and I was getting interested in puts again. I thought, okay, forget this bear trap. The higher time frames are what rule the market. I can't get so caught up in this 2-minute. Don't look at the 2-minute setups as the big time frame setup, like the big picture move. The 2-minute is simply for my entries. This right here, this side on the right-hand side of the screen there is not for the major setups. It's not the big picture setups. The 15-minute told me everything I needed to know. This was just a bigger break and retest. That, sure, I missed this flush here, which was like 60%, but this was a bigger move. This broke and then retested on the 15-minute, and this candle here was simply just a retest of the pre-market low. So what I did was I went to the 2-minute. I thought, okay, if this 15-minute is going to close here, I think there's a good chance that we can flush off of pre-market low, and this might even be a bigger move. Now, after taking the loss earlier in the day, I didn't let this run as far as I should have. I was really just kind of trying to get out of this choppy market and break even at least. So what I did was entered here. So we broke. I saw this massive wick forming, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this chance here. And if it doesn't, if we close right back above pre-market low, that was fine. I was just going to cut it again, and then I was going to walk away. That was my plan all along after taking that last loss. But that was the plan. If I took another loss, it was just over. I accepted it, would have accepted it, and just kind of walked away. But we got this break. And we got this retest on the 2-minute here, and this is where I entered. I tried to enter as close as I could to VWAP and also the level here. So this was a pretty nice risk to reward, I thought, of an entry. And then this candle came in, but again, it's the 2-minute. I'm not really putting too much stock, no pun intended, into the 2-minute candles. However, once I was entered, I just wanted to see this start to reject VWAP again, and as you can see, that's exactly what we started to do. Once this 15-minute candle closed like this is when I really was confident in this trade moving lower. When you see a massive wick like this, especially on a higher time frame like the 15-minute chart, there's going to be a change in direction. This is not, if this closed way up here and was nice and full like it was in the moment, okay, buyers are stepping in, but the sellers were way too strong. So I entered back here, sat through this, and I watched it flush. Again, I got out of this too soon. What I've been doing lately with my, I guess kind of a new, it's still break and retest, but I switched from, lower time frames to doing the 15-minute close and 2-minute entry. What I like to do when I'm in the trade is I definitely like to scale out because I want to secure some profits. Today was so choppy that I did not feel as comfortable or confident in the trades. So I did scale out at 10%. So I entered here. I scaled out, I think it was right around here, just at like 10%. I was just looking for just to make the red day today just not as bad, even though, it wasn't a terrible red day. So I scaled out around 10, 15%, took a couple trims, and then we did hit 20%, and that's where I'm really looking to take a third off of my position. So I did trim at 20%, and then I took another trim. I was actually fully out at 30%. I like to hold my positions and trim at 20%, and then if we get 50%, that's really kind of what I'm aiming for, to be half out. And then I usually let my trades respect the cloud, which I should have held this from here all the way down, respecting the cloud. This would have been a little sketchy, but I would have stayed in, all the way down to about here. This is when I really should have closed out my position, which ended up being around like 60% here, if I remember correctly, which would have been great. But again, after taking the one loss already and the market really chopping quite a bit today, I was honestly just a little nervous, and I really just wanted to make the red day not as bad. I'd rather have it nice and break even than even a small loss. Break even is better than a small loss. And then as you can see, so I would have been out here if I held the cloud, broke above the cloud, and then we dumped even more, but I would have not caught this part here. I would have been out here if I let the respect the cloud. But there is my trade review. I ended up break even on the day, because there was another trade that I attempted. I think I attempted on Marvel today earlier. It wasn't that big of a trade, but I guess it was all consistent sizing today, which is nice. But brought me back to I think I'm down like 0.3% or something today. So break even day. I'm considering it at least. And kind of the moral of the story here with this review is just trusting your setup. If I would have caught this first move, there's a very good chance I would not have been sitting around waiting for this. This was a great move. This resulted in even more of a bigger gain than the first one. But this already kind of ate me up mentally, that I didn't trust the market much for the second move. But so trust your setups. When your system says to enter, which mine is enter as close to the level as you possibly can. Yes, the cloud being close helps, but if you're right at the level, that gives you some wiggle room. If this were to pull back to the cloud and then had to, tap it first and then drag it lower, that's fine. They can do that. That's why you enter close to the level, so that you have the wiggle room to kind of let it play out a little bit. But I hesitated a little bit. It just wasn't, I don't know. It was just too quick, but lesson learned for next time. Enter here and then you get a nice push, and then I would have trimmed some, would have gotten out for 60%, and then on my runners I probably would have cut here or back up here, but then what's nice is if I were to have caught that, I really think I probably would have walked away. So I don't even know that I would have seen this trade here at 11. But what's nice is that if you just sit on your hands, if you wait, if you catch this trade, let's say you get 60% out of it, and then you get stopped out on the rest, and then you just wait for those bigger time frames to set up during the day, there's possibly another move, and it very well could be a larger move than that earlier move that happened. The higher time frames, like this is a 15-minute chart, a break and a retest. This happened from 9:30 to 11. This setup happened here, break, retest. A bigger setup like this is going to create a bigger move. So just something to kind of make note of. It would be awesome to, soon be able to catch both of those trades on that. I kind of have a difficult time catching multiple trades in one day. I'm kind of a one and done trader. As soon as I catch a green trade, a lot of times the second trade I put on, I don't know if I hesitate a little more just because I'm a little worried to give back any green, but it typically doesn't work out as well for me. But this is a nice example of seeing that possibility is out there. It's not going to happen all the time. Obviously, this candle here could have very well closed above pre-market low, and then this would have never happened. But definitely focusing on the mental side of things, and I've been keeping my account kind of flat. lately. I guess not completely flat. I've had 3 green weeks in a row, just nothing major. But I'm trying to get myself to understand that that's okay, and that's what trading's all about. And it's really keeping from having those big tilt days. We can't blow up. That's what keeps people from being profitable. But I hope you enjoyed the trade review. Definitely was not fun missing that first push, but we caught the second one to bring ourselves back to break even on the day. If you like the review, don't forget to subscribe and like. See you in the next one.